I liked a lot of the bands, but I didn't like a lot of them as well. The best were the Damned and the Pistols. I never liked the Thrash particularly.
Motörhead toured the world with legends, but not everyone was welcome. Lemmy Kilmister didn't care about fame, record sales, or trends. If he didn't respect you, the answer was no. Over the years, there were bands Motörhead flat out refused to tour with. These are 8 bands Motörhead refused to tour with, and the uncompromising reasons Lemmy shut the door for good. Coming in at number 8 is Slipknot, a band Motörhead never toured with and openly criticized, even calling them crap. Slipknot emerged as one of the most extreme metal bands of the late 90s, but Lemmy Kilmister never bought into the hype. Fans asked why the bands never toured together. Lemmy answered without hesitation. He did not like Slipknot's music, image, or overall approach to heavy metal. Slipknot formed in Iowa in 1995 and quickly built a reputation for chaos on stage. The band wore masks, jumped around the stage, and used 9 members to create a wall of sound. Fans loved the intensity, but Lemmy did not. In an interview with Ear Candy magazine, he slammed the band without hesitation. He said, "Slipknot is just crap. I know crap when I hear it, and that's crap." He made it clear that Slipknot's sound did nothing for him and never would. Lemmy also attacked Slipknot's image. He mocked their masks and stage outfits and refused to take them seriously as a band. He joked, "What the f*** is this? It's just rubbish. You're just garage attendants with gas masks on." To Lemmy, the masks felt like a cheap trick rather than real attitude. He believed rock bands should rely on songs, not costumes, to earn respect. At the heart of the issue was songwriting. Lemmy said Slipknot had riffs, but no real songs. He often said modern metal bands confuse noise for substance. In the same interviews, he explained that Slipknot proved his point. He felt their music hit hard, but left nothing behind once the noise stopped. That flaw alone made touring impossible in his eyes. Motörhead also lived by a strict no-gimmicks rule. Lemmy built his band around raw sound, volume, and honesty. He wanted crowds to focus on the music, not the visuals. Slipknot represented the opposite approach. Their shows leaned heavily on shock, masks, and mayhem. Lemmy saw that style as a fad that would fade once the image wore out. Lemmy didn't believe in gimmicks. He believed in songs. And to him, Slipknot had noise, not music. Because Lemmy openly called Slipknot crap and rubbish, a joint tour never stood a chance. He had no interest in sharing a stage with a band he did not respect. Number 7 is the Rolling Stones, one of the biggest rock bands of all time, but Motörhead never shared a tour with them. The reason comes down to Lemmy Kilmister's sharp opinions about image, attitude, and live energy. Many fans think Lemmy respected every classic rock giant, but his opinion of the Stones was complicated and often critical. Lemmy respected early rock and roll, but he never placed the Rolling Stones on the same level as their peers. In his memoir White Line Fever, he mocked them as mummy's boys from the London suburbs who tried to act dangerous. He contrasted them with the Beatles, whom he called hard men from Liverpool, who actually lived a rough life. Lemmy believed toughness mattered in rock, and he felt the Stones played a role instead of living it. Lemmy said he liked some Rolling Stones records, especially the early blues-driven material. However, he attacked their live performances. In interviews, he said the Stones were always on stage and lacked the raw danger he expected from a rock band. He toured with bands like the Stooges and believed live shows should feel risky and loud. He did not feel that energy when he watched the Stones perform. Another big issue for Lemmy was status and presentation. By the time Motörhead reached its peak, the Rolling Stones had become a massive stadium act. Their tours relied on huge stages, big budgets, and polished production. Lemmy preferred smoky clubs, loud amps, and a stripped-down setup. He felt Motörhead would feel like an opening act on a Stones tour, even if the billing said otherwise. That was something he couldn't accept. Lemmy also disliked the Stones' upper-class image. He believed rock and roll came from rebellion, not comfort. He admired artists like Chuck Berry and Little Richard, who built rock from struggle and sweat. In interviews, Lemmy joked that he had no interest in opening for a bunch of mummy's boys. He felt Motörhead fans would not connect with the Stones crowd or atmosphere. Despite his criticism, Lemmy never showed personal hatred toward the Rolling Stones. He acknowledged their songwriting success and even covered their songs live on occasion. His refusal to tour stayed rooted in philosophy, not ego. Lemmy believed rock should stay dangerous, loud, and honest. In the bus. And Motörhead refused to tour with the Rolling Stones because Lemmy felt the match would not work musically or culturally. He protected Motörhead's image at all costs. Number 6 is Limp Bizkit, a band that Lemmy thought was rubbish. In the late 1990s, Limp Bizkit became one of the biggest names in nu metal, but Lemmy Kilmister had no respect for them. From the start, Motörhead's leader made it clear that he did not like their music, image, or popularity. His blunt comments explain exactly why Motörhead refused to tour with Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit formed in Florida in 1994 and mixed heavy guitars with rap vocals and DJ scratches. Songs like Nookie and Break Stuff connected with young fans and dominated radio and MTV. Lemmy saw that success and shook his head. In a well-known Ear Candy magazine interview, he openly mocked the band and said, "People like Limp Bizkit, I don't understand it. I don't understand their success." He dismissed their music as rubbish and said it lacked real songs. Lemmy believed rock lived or died by the song. He often used the Beatles as his standard and pointed to songs like Yesterday as proof that great music lasts forever. He felt Limp Bizkit relied on noise, image, and youth culture instead of melodies. In the same interviews, he lumped Limp Bizkit in with Slipknot and accused both bands of having riffs without songs. For Lemmy, that flaw alone was enough to disqualify them from sharing a stage with Motörhead. Another major issue involved the nu metal movement itself. Lemmy hated music trends and believed they damaged rock and roll. In an interview with Hot Press, he slammed the American music scene and said it was fad-driven. He singled out Limp Bizkit and Tool and warned, "If that's the future of rock and roll, it's for me." Those words showed how deeply he rejected the scene Limp Bizkit represented. Lemmy also disliked Limp Bizkit's attitude and frontman, Fred Durst. He mocked Durst in several interviews and treated him as a symbol of everything wrong with modern rock. Lemmy believed rock stars should earn respect through decades of work, not sudden fame or controversy. He felt Motörhead fans wanted grit, honesty, and volume, not rap verses and DJ effects. To Lemmy, Limp Bizkit was a fad, and Motörhead didn't tour with fads. He had no personal feud with the band, but his musical values left no room for compromise. At number 5 is Radiohead, a band who earned massive respect from critics and fans, but Lemmy Kilmister never considered them a rock band. Lemmy spoke clearly and often about his dislike for Radiohead's sound, image, and place in modern rock. Radiohead formed in Oxfordshire in the mid-1980s and rose to fame in the 1990s with songs like Creep. Over time, they shifted away from guitar-driven rock and leaned into experimental sounds, electronics, and moody themes. Critics praised albums like OK Computer and Kid A, but Lemmy felt confused by the hype. In interviews, he openly questioned why magazines labeled Radiohead as rock at all. Lemmy believed rock and roll should sound loud, dangerous, and exciting. He grew up on Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and the Beatles, and he never changed that standard. In a 2010 interview, he complained that music magazines kept pushing bands like Radiohead and Coldplay while ignoring heavier acts. He said, "They're not rock bands, they're sub-emo." Lemmy added that he knew real rock and roll when he heard it, and Radiohead did not fit that definition. Another issue for Lemmy was their lack of live energy. Motörhead built its reputation on volume, speed, and raw power. Lemmy wanted shows that felt like a punch to the chest. Radiohead focused on atmosphere, layered sounds, and emotional tension. Lemmy felt that style lacked danger. He once said that most of what magazines loved was not exciting, and he placed Radiohead squarely in that category. Lemmy also rejected what he saw as overthinking in music. He believed great songs should be simple and memorable. He often used Yesterday as an example of perfect songwriting. In contrast, he viewed Radiohead's music as complex but forgettable. In one interview, when asked about Radiohead changing their sound, Lemmy replied bluntly that they were not very good. That honesty summed up his attitude. Because of these views, Motörhead never shared a tour with Radiohead. There was no public feud or backstage fight. The refusal came from philosophy, not drama. Lemmy felt Radiohead represented a version of rock that moved too far away from its roots. He believed pairing the two bands would confuse audiences and weaken Motörhead's identity. At number 4 is Tool, a band who built a reputation as one of the most complex and respected metal bands of the 1990s, but Lemmy Kilmister never felt any connection to them. Lemmy did not hate the musicians as people, but he strongly disliked what their success represented in modern rock. Tool formed in Los Angeles in 1990 and gained attention with long songs, odd time signatures, and dark visuals. Fans praised albums like Anima and Lateralis for their depth and musicianship. Lemmy saw something very different. He believed rock and roll should hit fast, sound loud, and stay simple. Tool's slow builds and layered arrangements did not match that vision. In interviews, Lemmy often grouped Tool with bands he felt symbolized a bad trend in music. During a press interview, he criticized the American rock scene and called it fad-driven. He specifically named Limp Bizkit and Tool and said, "If that's the future of rock and roll, it's for me." That line showed how deeply he rejected what Tool stood for in the industry. Lemmy believed rock music needed strong, catchy songs. To him, a great song should stick in your head after one listen. He felt Tool focused too much on complexity and not enough on hooks. While fans admired Tool's technical skill, Lemmy saw their music as overworked and lacking heart. Live shows also played a role in his refusal. Motörhead concerts were loud, fast, and direct. Lemmy wanted crowds to feel the music in their chest. Tool shows leaned heavily on dark lighting, projections, and long instrumental sections. Lemmy respected power and attitude more than atmosphere. He felt Tool's style slowed things down instead of lighting a fire under the audience. Another issue involved identity. Lemmy spent years fighting to keep Motörhead labeled as rock and roll, not metal trends or art projects. He worried that touring with Tool would place Motörhead on a bill that pushed progressive concepts over raw energy. That clash of values mattered to him more than ticket sales or exposure. Because Lemmy openly criticized Tool as part of a hopeless trend, a shared tour never made sense. He did not see common ground musically or philosophically. Motörhead stayed loyal to speed, volume, and simplicity. Tool stood for precision, patience, and complexity. Coming in at number 3 is WASP, a band built on shock and wild stage shows, an approach that clashed with Motörhead. While Lemmy disliked many bands, WASP did tour with Motörhead in 1997. The tour collapsed fast, which is why Motörhead refused to work with them again. WASP formed in Los Angeles in the early 1980s and gained fame for outrageous live performances. Their shows featured fake blood, animal props, and theatrical violence. Fans expected chaos, and singer Blackie Lawless delivered it every night. Lemmy respected showmanship, but he believed music always came first. When the 1997 tour with WASP began, Lemmy felt their theatrics went too far. The main problem came from the condition of the stage. WASP's act left feathers, fake blood, and debris everywhere. Lemmy complained that the stage was not fit to piss in after their set. He refused to let Motörhead play on a slippery, filthy surface that could injure his band or crew. Because of that, Motörhead demanded that WASP close the shows each night instead. Tension grew quickly backstage. Lemmy felt disrespected by Blackie Lawless, who he claimed ignored him and walked past without speaking. The situation got worse when both bands had to share a dressing room. Once Motörhead finished playing, they discovered their clothes had been tossed into the hallway. That moment pushed things past the breaking point. The tour ended early in chaos. Motörhead walked away, and WASP's camp fired back with harsh words in the press. They even called Motörhead unprofessional, which angered Lemmy even more. Things nearly turned physical between the crews backstage, and both sides said they'd never work together. Again. Years later, the truth came out. Blackie Lawless admitted that promoters gave both bands bad information about who was headlining. That confusion fueled egos and resentment. Lawless later said he wished he could undo the entire situation. He and Lemmy eventually met, talked it out, and hugged. They realized they had been playing against each other. Even after making peace, Motörhead never toured with WASP again. Lemmy believed trust mattered on the road, and once it broke, it stayed broken. The incident showed that Lemmy cared as much about professionalism as music. Blood, feathers, and drama had no place in Motörhead's world. In the end, Motörhead refused to tour with WASP because the experience turned toxic. At number 2 comes Megadeth, an unusual case in Motörhead's long history of tour refusals. Lemmy Kilmister did not hate Megadeth's music. He did not mock their sound or insult their fans. Instead, a real-world tour disaster in the mid-1980s burned the bridge fast and for good. The story starts in 1986 during Motörhead's Orgasmatron tour. Megadeth joined the bill as a rising thrash metal opener. At the time, Megadeth pushed hard to break into the mainstream. Their song Peace Sells gained heavy rotation on MTV, and the band wanted longer set times to ride the momentum. Motörhead's crew did not agree. They enforced strict time limits every night, and they controlled the soundboard for all bands on the tour. Problems escalated almost immediately. Megadeth played past their allotted time on several nights. Motörhead's sound engineer responded by cutting their sound mid-set. Crew members then walked on stage and forced Megadeth off. It happened more than once, and things heated up fast. Dave Mustaine argued with Motörhead's crew, and shouting matches became routine. Stage logistics made things worse. Motörhead drummer Pete Gill used a rail system that slid his drum kit forward for solos. That setup blocked Megadeth from placing their drum riser in the center of the stage. Megadeth bassist David Ellefson later said the band felt disrespected and boxed into a corner. He openly admitted there was bad blood between us after the incident. Eventually, Megadeth left the tour early under growing tension. Some reports say Motörhead kicked them off. Other accounts say Megadeth's management pulled them to avoid further damage. Either way, the results stayed the same. Motörhead and Megadeth never toured together again. Lemmy did not revisit the issue publicly, and he did not soften the decision later. This fallout had nothing to do with ego or genre. Lemmy respected heavy metal and thrash. He cared deeply about discipline on the road. He believed tours only worked when bands followed rules and respected crews. Once Megadeth clashed with that system, Lemmy drew a hard line and moved on. The Megadeth story proves something important about Motörhead. Lemmy did not only refuse tours over music taste, he also refused tours over professionalism. When order broke down, the tour ended. At number 1 are The Clash, a band Lemmy openly disliked. Motörhead and The Clash came from the same place and time, but Lemmy Kilmister never felt any connection to them. Both bands rose out of late 1970s London, and both played loud music. But that's where the similarities ended. Lemmy made it clear in interviews that he did not respect The Clash, and that dislike explains why Motörhead never toured with them. Lemmy's biggest issue was honesty. He believed rock music should feel real, raw, and straight from the gut. In a Spin magazine interview, Lemmy said, "I never liked The Clash. They sounded like old music, dressed up as punk." That quote summed up his view perfectly. He thought The Clash borrowed ideas from older rock and wrapped them in punk fashion instead of creating something new. Lemmy also hated what he saw as fake rebellion. He felt punk should be loud, fast, and fun, not a lecture. In another interview, he said he never had time for The Clash and their pretend politics. Lemmy believed their political lyrics felt forced and staged. He didn't want rock bands telling people how to think or vote. He wanted music that made people feel alive, not guilty or angry at the system. Musically, Lemmy thought The Clash lacked punch. While many fans praised albums like London Calling, Lemmy stayed unimpressed. He preferred bands like the Ramones and the Damned, who played simple, fast songs without a message attached. Lemmy often said the Ramones understood rock and roll better because they didn't pretend to be anything else. To him, The Clash wore punk like a costume rather than living it. There was no major backstage fight or blown-up tour offer between Motörhead and The Clash. Instead, Lemmy shut the door early with his words. By openly criticizing the band in interviews, he made it clear he had zero interest in sharing a stage with them. Lemmy believed respect mattered, and he didn't respect The Clash's style or attitude. Without respect, a tour was never going to happen. Lemmy also worried about mixed audiences. Motörhead fans came for volume, speed, and pure rock energy. The Clash attracted fans who cared deeply about politics and social messages. Lemmy thought combining those crowds would feel awkward and forced. He preferred touring with bands that shared his love for loud amps and hard riffs, not slogans and speeches. Over the years, Lemmy never softened his stance. Even when critics called The Clash one of the greatest punk bands of all time, Lemmy stayed firm. He admitted they had talent, but talent alone wasn't enough. Rock needed honesty, danger, and attitude, and he felt The Clash missed that mark. In the end, Motörhead refused to tour with The Clash for one simple reason. Lemmy didn't believe in them. He saw their music as fake punk, with fake politics, and he wanted no part of it. For Lemmy, that decision wasn't personal. It was just rock and roll truth, as he saw it.